Will the GOP race go all the way to the convention in Tampa at the end of August? Only one of our panelists says yes. Let's find out who that panelist will be. Let me first of all introduce all of our analysts who are here once again. Roland, of course, Roland Martin is here. Donna Brazile, Ari Fleischer, Erick, Erickson, Gloria, and David, of course, are here as well. Will the GOP race Roland Martin go all the way to the convention?
Yes, I recall sitting here just 3 days ago, and all I heard from the folks in the room was Mitt Romney's in the driver's seat. Everybody else is falling back. Oh, my goodness, the race is almost over. And I said, things can change very quickly. So what's happening? Here we're talking about Santorum possibly winning tonight, how that could change his campaign. We do not know what is going to happen. The voters have the final say so. This thing is going to keep going. There will be more surprises. And we'll be sitting here saying, man, how did that happen?
Will the race go all the way to the convention, Donna?
First of all, I would love it to go all the way to the convention, Wolf, because I think it will...
You love mischief.
There's nothing better I enjoy doing than hanging out with Ari and Erick, of course. But on the other hand, I do believe as a strategist that Mitt Romney understands that while he may lose a couple of contests between now, Super Tuesday, as well as between Super Tuesday and when New York and Pennsylvania, there's no question that he'll probably have enough delegates to wrap it up sometime by the middle of April.
What do you think, Ari?
There's only one scenario that gets you a convention that is meaningful, contested in August, and that's if Newt Gingrich were to end up the front runner going into it, because then you see everybody in Washington do their best to block Newt Gingrich from becoming the nominee. Outside of that, no. And this is typical. Races do go through February. They do go into March. There is absolutely nothing different about this year and the length of the race so far this year from any previous year.
I want it to, because I'm just not excited about any of the candidates and would love to go find a new guy at the convention. It's not going to happen. Mitt Romney's going to be the nominee. I still think that's what's going to happen. I do think, though, that Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich bang him up enough when he gets to the convention, he's going to have to make some serious compromises, particularly with who he picks for his vice presidential candidate.
Let me ask David and Gloria. David, first to you. Will it go all the way to Tampa?
I don't know. I think it's unlikely to go all the way to Tampa. I think this is less about delegates than about psychology. At some point, the party is going to basically settle on someone, and before the full delegate count gets resolved, or maybe after it is, but I think someone will have it before they get to Tampa. But I do think I would disagree with Ari on one point. I don't think this is typical in one sense, and that is the longer this has gone on, the more it is apparent that it's hurting Mitt Romney against Barack Obama in the fall, and that is not always typical.
Ari, hold your thought on that. Let me get Gloria.
I want to see what happens in Tampa. I mean, that's what's really interesting to me. For example, if Newt Gingrich amasses a certain number of delegates, if Ron Paul amasses a certain number of delegates, what are they going to get in return? I mean, there's got to be some kind of deal going on. Is it a prominent primetime speech by Ron Paul or by Newt Gingrich? Will their delegates have some say in vice presidential choice? Will they have to play to those delegates? I mean, that's what's going to be very important. And I agree with David. I do think this is different because these candidates are meaner and nastier than even John McCain and Mitt Romney were to each other in 2008.
Ari, does a long, drawn-out process hurt Mitt Romney, assuming he gets the nomination?
I don't believe this has been a long, drawn-out process.
If it goes all the way to the convention.
Well, if it goes all the way to convention, I think chances are that would be hurtful, because the only one I think has the possibility of taking it there is Newt, and I think that would be a civil war in the Republican Party. But here are the dates. Mike Huckabee didn't drop out till March 4th, 4 years ago, when John McCain won. John McCain didn't drop out till March 9th against my old boss, George Bush. Bob Dole didn't drop out till March 29th against George Bush 41. And then George Bush 41 didn't drop out until May against Ronald Reagan.
But it's what they're saying to each other.
George H.W. Bush, of course, said of Ronald Reagan, voodoo economics. You know, when you're in the middle of it, it never feels good. And then all of a sudden it's over and people look back and say, we are so energized, we now have a chance to beat Barack Obama. I think that's the big drive of this cycle. And there's a potential that it can become even messier for Mitt Romney, but I don't see it yet.
I don't think Newt's going to be saying those things.
History suggests that Republicans like to clean up their nomination process very early. On average, they take about 50 days. It's been, 35 days. So I think in the last time, I mean, they don't do well in long contested primaries. We do much better because Democrats know how to fight and then we lick and heal our wounds. Republicans sort of keep their wounds open, and therefore it's very difficult for them to get independents and other voters in the fall.
I think there's a difference here to Ari's point, citing Reagan, Bush, or even Bush, Dole in '88, or McCain, Bush in 2000.
Which was no love affair.
There were no love affair, except you had this interesting dynamic according to the Gallup polls of those times, where Reagan and all those people were the front runners, but the second choice was acceptable, and for the people who were voting for second choice, the first choice was acceptable. In this case, you have this interesting dynamic where the first choice isn't acceptable to still a majority of the party, and while he probably will be the nominee, that's the problem for him. The Bush people, the Baker people, he liked Reagan.
I know, Donna, you said Democrats like to fight and lick their wounds. Not always. If you remember, you may not be old enough to remember Jimmy Carter and Ted Kennedy. They fought. They didn't exactly kiss and hug when they made up, and that hurt Jimmy Carter.
That was before I turned 21.
You probably don't remember it. You don't remember that race back then. All right, guys, stand by. Newt Gingrich has promised.